Hello, welcome to All About Billings. We are a show dedicated to discovering the people who make Billings a great place to work and live. We will interview business people, entrepreneurs, we'll interview entertainers, artists, and all sorts of cool people. That's what we're about. And today I have as my special guest, Wyatt Johnson. Now let me tell you a little bit about Wyatt. I've known Wyatt 4 or 5 years, I think.
At least.
And Wyatt grew up in Shepherd, so he's a native to the area. And one of the things that's interesting about Wyatt, which I didn't know, he started off wanting to be a business major.
Yep.
Now, after his first semester, he decided he wasn't learning enough, so he quit. He became an electrician. And in this time, the most inspiring thing happened. He read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which sounds like it changed your life, which we'll get into. And he started getting into investing property. And from there, he did well, went to Peru for a month, which I want to hear about that too, and decided he wanted to be a full-time flipper. And that is what he's been doing. So let me welcome you, Wyatt, to the show. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, Nancy, I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, so tell us about, I guess the most interesting thing is you had a great job as an electrician. And I remember that when we were talking, it's like, oh, are you sure you want to give up that great job? You have a wonderful future. You're going to make an outstanding income.
Yep.
And you had the courage to do it. So what inspired you to go from electrician to flipper?
You know, it's funny that you say inspired because it wasn't inspiration as much it was like guilt.
Oh.
Yeah, I always, I loved being an electrician,
Right.
and I was decent at it, hard worker, you know, I got stuff done right. Wasn't as smart as some of the guys in the trade, but I could do it well enough. But something was always nagging at me that I was meant to do something different, right? And so I always felt like I was kind of punching below my weight class, like taking things easy, and was always beating myself up about not trying harder, not taking bigger risks. And so that built up until when I got my electrical license, I got out of the apprenticeship. It was to the point then where like, okay, I'm not tied to this job waiting for my electrical license. I can quit and try to do the real estate thing and see if I can make that stuff happen. And if it doesn't work, I can go back to electrical now because I have my license. And so that was kind of the impetus for getting into the house flipping full time, is like I wanted to see what I was made of. And if I wouldn't have done it, I would have regretted it.
Well, what made you feel guilty? I mean, a lot of people, let me just put it this way. A lot of people are completely content to do their 9-to-5 job and come home and have, you know, a nice house and a family, and they aren't really worried about feeling like they're not doing all they can. What is it about you that you just felt like you had to push for more?
That's a really good question. And I've done a lot of introspection on it. And in 27 years, I still haven't gotten very far on it. But I think the biggest thing is I grew up, I wouldn't say poor, but like we didn't have money.
Yeah.
And, you know, I drove a really bad car in high school. And I was a little socially awkward, not great with women. And so I think the big thing was seeing the other kids at school who had nice trucks and were really popular and stuff. And I wanted to be like them. And I was like, well, if I can just get a nice truck, everyone will like me. And so...
and you can get girls.
Yeah, exactly. So that made me start focusing on money. And
Right.
what ended up coming from that is that I started using, you know, money and success as a metric of my self-worth. And so as an electrician, I love the job, tons of respect for everyone that does it, but me personally, I like beat myself up. Like, you're not enough. You still need to make more money. You need to be more successful, or no one's gonna like you. And like that sounds really severe, but that's, you know, that's
Right.
what it boils down to. And it's not something to be sad about. Like it's not like I have any problems around it or anything. It's just that's what I've figured out all these years after looking back on it. And so I think that's why I had that guilt making me want to push for more when maybe other people don't.
Right, right. Yeah, you almost felt like if you push for more, then you'd find that self-worth that you were seeking, or that affirmation from others that you were
Yeah,
seeking.
you can compensate for self-esteem all day with achievement.
Right, right. Well, and so you were an electrician. What was your first investment house? What was that like?
Oh, that was really interesting. I've always been someone to kind of like take the leap. Like I'm not scared to do things that are risky. When we were kids doing stunts and stuff like that, like I
Okay.
was the stunt guy or whatever. I found a vacant lot on Craigslist, and he had it listed for 32,000. And I'd been saving up money as an electrician, and happened to have, I think I had like 17,000 in the bank or something like that. And so I made him an offer at 15,000, and he took it. And that was the first. It was like within hours of being listed, I made that offer. He took it. I bought the lot, and I got lucky too because there was people behind me lining up to buy it. He just like admired that, I put the offer out there, no contingencies, made it happen, and I bought that place, saved up my money until I could buy a mobile home, moved it onto the property, got it set up, and I actually got scared once I got it set up because it had a septic system, and I didn't know if we were going to be able to replace it if it was bad. And I didn't know if it was good because I bought the lot, no contingencies.
Right.
Well, another investor came along and did some tough negotiating, and I ended up selling the whole thing for 32,000. And so I was into it with the lot and the mobile home, 30,000. I cleared $2,000 on it. And at the time, with all my the hours I'd put into it, that was like $50 an hour. So as an electrician making $20 an hour, I was like, this is great. I just made $50 an hour. And that was my first deal.
Okay. And so you felt successful, even though 2000 now you wouldn't be too excited about doing that deal, right?
I would be disappointed at $2,000 now for the time I had to put into that thing, for sure.
And so you did that first deal, and then at what point did you go to Peru? Because that's an interesting part of your story. I don't think I ever heard that. What
Sure.
happened in Peru, and why did you decide to change your life?
Yeah, so that deal I did while I was working as an electrician. After that, I bought more houses, lived in them, fixed them up, rented out the rooms. Kept doing that as an electrician. When it came to the end of the apprenticeship, I was free. Like once I got that license, I'm a free bird, and I really want to travel, but I'd always had the job holding me down. I always tried to work as much hours as I could and things like that. So a few years later, I had met a gal at a hotel convention banquet thing. She was one of the waitresses, and ended up asking for her number and dating her on and off while she was up here because she would come and work in the hotels on her summer break.
Sure.
Well, she was from Peru, and so she was always like, "Oh, come to Peru," and I was like, "Yeah, I would love to come to Peru," and she finally got me to like commit to it, right? And so when I turned out and got my electrical license, I finally had the freedom to let the work thing go because I had my license, and I took a month off and went down to Peru and stayed with her and her family, traveled all around the country, went to the jungle, got stranded on the Amazon, surfed a bunch on the beach, went and saw some volcanoes. It was incredible.
And so you decided to not quit being an electrician and be a full-time flipper at that point.
Yeah, so at that point, that was like my deadline. Like, okay, now like I'm quitting the electrical thing. I am gonna go to Peru because I have the time, and then when I get back, it's nothing but real estate. And it's actually the case that I still did electrical work after that. So like I would still go back and work. I worked on a hotel in Big Sky for a few months that was 7/12s, like a lot of hours to get money. And then I worked on the smelter in Columbus and stuff like that, just to make ends meet.
Right.
But when I wasn't doing that first year, I was out. I built a website. I was sending a bunch of letters and stuff, looking for houses to buy. Knocking on doors, like tracking down owners of vacant houses and stuff like that. So I did work a bit as an electrician that first year, but I had already committed that like I was going to make this real estate thing work, and so I wasn't at anything long term. And then it would have been the second year that I was out on my own that I didn't do any electrical work and just did the real estate stuff.
Was it scary?
Yeah, it was really scary, especially since so much of it was attached to my my ego and my self-worth.
Right.
Because the thought I always kept having was, great, like I'm not making this real estate thing work. I got one deal my first year, one house that I was able to fix up. And I put so much work into it. And I was like, I'm gonna have to go back to being an electrician, and everyone's gonna make fun of me, and like, I'm gonna be even lower than I was before, and I'll probably have a lower opinion of myself And so that was always nagging in the back of my mind that I had messed up and that this stuff wasn't going to work. But luckily, I didn't give up.
So what caused you to keep moving forward? I mean, so one deal, I don't know what you made on that deal, but probably not as much as you'd make as an electrician working for a year.
No, that's exactly
I mean,
right. Yep.
you know,
Yep.
minimum wage job maybe. But
Yep.
so you got the house, that one deal. What made you persevere? Because I could see a lot of people giving up. And I mean, I see it in real estate all the time.
Sure, yeah, I bet
So,
you do.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just the fear of failure. I wish it was something cooler than that, but it was just the fear of having to experience the embarrassment of going back to everyone and be like, yeah, well, I guess I'm not as good as I thought, you know? That's what kept me going. And I'm glad I did, you know?
Right. So how did things start turning then? So the first year you're writing letters, you're knocking on doors, you're rehabbing this one house. Then what happened the second year?
Yeah, so the thing that delineates the first year from the second year is I started paying to take coaching, real estate coaching, which I'm sure you see it all the time, how much coaching can help people in business and life and everything. And you're scared of the investment up front because you can't believe in the results that you're going to get from it. You know what I mean? And so at that time, I was like paying $250 a month to learn from this guy how to send direct mail, which is like, you know, letters to people to see if they want to sell their houses. And the trouble I ran into is there's a lot of people out there doing real estate that don't have the values or the reputation that I want to have doing this stuff. And so I was trying different things that I didn't like. They didn't feel right. You know, sending out a bunch of postcards that say, you know, houses wanted, we can only buy one, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I met a guy named Tucker Merrihew, ended up paying for training from him on how to send direct mail that actually makes people want to call you about selling their house. And so like now, you know, my letters say, hey, I'd be interested in buying your place at such and such address. Give me a call if you're thinking about selling. And that worked way better. And that was what made the big difference is people started calling, and I had enough knowledge in, you know, construction and the other parts of real estate that now that people were calling, I could start making the whole puzzle work and bring these together. And so my first year I did one deal. My second year I did 15, and it was because I had gotten better at marketing in the meantime.
So it must have been kind of scary. Even $250 a month doesn't seem like a lot of money, but committing to that
Yeah.
must have seemed like, oh, how am I going to make this work?
Yeah, well, and you do that math yearly too, you know? $250 a month sucks, but you always look at it as, you know, $3,000 a year.
Right.
And you're like, great, I made $43,000 last year. There goes $3,000 of what I made.
Right, right.
But you got to look at what it's going to bring you, which,
Right.
you know, it brought a lot more money through the door than I spent on it, and that's what matters.
Well, and I remember when I first met you, you came to our real estate investment group that we had at the time, and you walked in and you were very earnest, and you shook my hand and introduced me, and you said you were getting into real estate investing, and you just had such a determination. I mean, you were, well, I don't know, 4 or 5 years younger at the time.
Right.
You're young now. You were really young then, but I think that's also kind of an amazing part of the story. Like at such a young age, you're willing to jump in and take those risks.
Yeah, I think I got lucky being around just super good role models when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And also growing up in a situation that made me want to follow those role models. So like my first boss, Shane and Tanya Flowers, they own Ranch House Meats here in town.
Yep. Uh-huh.
They're like my number one people. Like I just idolize them, trying to be like them as much as I can. And I was around them at 15. If I hadn't been, I would probably be different. And so I think a lot of that is like, I just had those people to look up to and see what they were doing, how they acted and how they treated people. And I just copied it and it worked well.
Well, it sounds like finding the right tone was really a key to your success and making sure that your reputation was intact when you're doing these deals.
Yeah, exactly. That was a big part of it is, you know, there's ways to make money in any business. Shortcutting stuff and doing what's not best for the people that you're working with, the customer. But that doesn't last long term, and it doesn't allow me to sleep at night. Like I'm super in tune with my emotions or introspective, like however you want to call it. And so, yeah, I think that was a lot of my my journey is figuring out who I am and how I can interact with people in this business and what that looks like.
Well, and I think the other thing that's interesting is, so you went from one house to 15, and now you're doing dozens of houses a year, right? I mean,
Yeah, yep. So one house, that was 20, 21, 22 was 15, 23 was 49.
yeah.
And then this year we're going to do similar numbers to that. But I'm trying to do a little less. We'll see. I have a hard time turning down opportunity.
So what's been the biggest, I guess, failure that you've experienced with flipping houses? Could be a deal or just something that you thought of wrong that you had to learn different.
Sure. I think probably my biggest failure was the accounting side of things. I mean, and I'm sure there's failures that I'm having right now that
Sure.
I won't know for a couple of years, so it might change. But I didn't pay enough attention to the bookkeeping side of things and the numbers of everything. I was just like, if we're out here doing the work and getting things done, it's going to turn into profit on the other side. Well, that wasn't the case. Like, I wasn't tracking stuff, and we had run one rehab that I thought we were at $170,000 in renovations we had done on it. And when I finally got all my receipts together and figured out where we were actually at, it was $220,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's like a $50,000 swing. It was a deal I would have lost money on, and so I kept it and moved into it, hoping that like the market would get better and fix my mistake. But that was probably the biggest.
Well, and I remember just you and I talking that sometimes you've trusted vendors that have let you down. So, I mean, how do you, because that's the biggest challenge, right? Finding contractors you can depend on and partners that you can depend on. How have you gotten through that? How do you find the right people to work with now?
Ooh, you know, I think on the contractor side of things, you just have to work with people. You try them, see how it goes, and then adjust quickly. Right? Because you don't want to get stuck in a bad situation for a long time. And then when you do get a relationship that is a good one, keep it. Like, do whatever you can to make it work. Pour into those people and try to make their job as easy and profitable as it can be. Because, you know, having those people around is just such a big deal in a business like this.
That really makes sense. And what would you say has been your greatest success, or the moment you look back after your illustrious career at 27?
Oh my God.
What's been the highlight so far? What has been the thing that you've been most proud of?
So me and some friends were talking about this a while back, and one guy asked my other friend, he's like, what are you most proud of?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, my truck. He has this big jacked up Dodge diesel truck that he's really proud of and everything. And then he asked me the same thing, and what I've come to is what I've been able to do for my brother and sister is the thing I'm most proud of, because we all came from the same thing, and they're younger than me, so I was like, you know, who they were looking to for guidance and stuff. And so for me to go through the hard stuff that I've done and then be able to turn around and teach that stuff to my brother and sister so that they don't have to spend as much time overcoming those challenges as I did, well, that's like the thing I'm most proud of.
Yeah, that's really great. And giving back to them. And
Right.
well, and you know, you're just also out there now. I mean, so you're on TV a lot.
Yeah.
People are getting to know you. How are you handling that? That's got to be kind of odd, right? Because you're kind of a private person.
Yeah, I think that that was definitely a change that I didn't know what to expect of, because, you know, like I was at the bar the other day, and the guy was like, "You're that guy on TV." And I was like, "Oh, shoot, I better drink less," because she knows who I am.
You're going to have to go to Peru so they don't know you, right?
I know, run away. Yeah, no, I think that it was something I was worried about in the beginning for sure, but it's turned out well. You know, I really worry about like bad things being said about me, and I don't really run into them yet. I mean, I'm sure it's going to happen. Like, you go through business, there's a lot of stuff going on, and things can get, you know, blurred and communicated to where I might look like a bad guy eventually. But so far, people just say great things, you know, and a lot of people see me on TV and recommend me to other people who aren't watching TV. So it's been super helpful.
Well, and I know you always do try to treat people with integrity.
Sure.
You tell them what you'll pay for their house. You're honest with them that maybe they could get more if they're willing to list it on the open market.
Right.
Here's what your benefits are. Here's what you'll do for them. And a lot of people take you up on that.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people need what we're selling, right? And what stops them from doing it is they're talking to someone on the internet or someone out of state or something like that, and they just get the feeling that these people are trying to take advantage of them.
Right.
I've had really good luck with giving people everything I can so that they can make the best decision for them. And once you remove that barrier of them thinking that you're untrustworthy and trying to get one over on them, they're a lot more likely to work with you, is what I've found.
Well, and I think the other thing is you go out of your way to help solve their issues.
Yeah.
So, for example, if somebody needs a place to live, they have to sell their house for whatever reason, maybe they're behind on the mortgage, you've helped them by letting them live in the place for a while until they can get settled. I mean, you've done a lot of things like that.
Yeah, we have to be super flexible to make it worth working with us.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about. Everyone knows what a traditional real estate sale looks like for the most part, but life happens, and sometimes you need something that looks a little different. And we're someone that people can come to and trust that they're going to get what we say we're going to give them. You know what I mean? And so we can take super stressful times and make them, weightless.
Well, and what would you say is the most memorable person that you've helped? I mean, you don't have to tell us the name, or just in general, what would be the story?
Sure, yeah. So I don't like talking about foreclosure because that's what everyone assumes that people like me do.
Right.
And it is the case that we buy houses that are in, pre-foreclosure or buy them at auction and stuff. But it's also the case that we help a lot of those people and, have them get out of pre-foreclosure and get their life straightened out. I mean, there was one a few weeks ago where the mortgage was foreclosing, but it was a second mortgage, and so she thought they couldn't take the house. Well, I called her 5 days before and was like, hey, they can take the house. Do you know? And she's like, oh my God, I had no idea. Well, I hooked her up with the foreclosure attorney, and they were able to work out stopping the foreclosure and her keeping her house when she wouldn't have because she didn't know that they actually could take her house, right?
Right.
But the story I wanted to tell was there was a guy that happened to be in foreclosure. That's why I brought up the thing. And I couldn't catch him. I sent him letters, couldn't catch him on the phone. Tried knocking on his door, couldn't find him. Well, finally, I'm knocking on his door, and it's a few days before the sale, and I had an ice scraper in my car, and so I wrote my name and number and said, call me, and left it on his door. And he called me, and I told him, I was like, hey, obviously this is coming up, do you have any plans? And he's like, well, no, I'm ready to sell it, come meet with me, let's do this. And so I get there, and he's like, okay, what's the price? Give me what papers we need, I'll sign it. And I was like, well, wait, do you want to keep the house? And he's like, well, yeah, I want to keep the house. Why would I want to just get rid of it? I'm living here. And I was like, well, you still can. And did the same thing, hooked him up with the attorneys. He got some money from a family member, stopped the sale, was able to keep living in his house. Well, the cool thing about the story is, one, he gave me a shotgun for helping him with that.
Oh.
Pretty Montana thing.
Yeah.
So I still have that, and I'm really proud of it. But two, he called me a year later, and he was in the same situation. And he's like, look, this time, I don't care. I'm done with this. I just want to get it off my plate, not have to worry about it. I want a fresh start. You should buy my house. And he gave me the price, and it was a really good price. And I bought the place, made money on it, and it just felt awesome because I did the right thing in the first place, but it also turned into business down the road.
Right. Well, and it sounds like he was really grateful.
Yeah, absolutely was.
Well, and you also went out of your way to help him.
Yeah, it's tough because I spent a lot of time on stuff, there was a house that was sitting vacant. I found the owner, let her know that she still owned it because she didn't think she did. And I was like, well, I'd like a chance to buy it. And she's like, well, no, now that I know I still buy it, I'm selling it to a relative. Okay. So I had no chance at it. So there's a lot of time that I waste chasing down those things that nothing ever comes of them. So it's nice when something does. But that's just the nature of the business. I can't expect everyone to be in a situation where it makes sense to sell to me.
Yeah, right. Well, what makes you stay in Billings? You've been here, Shepherd, that's...
Yeah.
rural Billings.
Yeah, staying in Billings, got a lot of family here, a lot of friends in the business. You know what I mean? I've been building this stuff, and for me to try to walk away from it and go somewhere else, just scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, this is still that the self-worth thing playing out. But like if I did walk away from that and went and did something else, I would feel like I was going backwards, and I think that it would tear me up.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not mature enough to deal with that yet. Maybe it'll happen eventually. But that's the big thing. And I do love Billings. I mean, it's great, and I love doing all the outdoor stuff and like cowboy stuff that we can do in the area. But I would like to travel a little bit. I'm just scared of leaving the business.
Wow. So what do you see happening in the future with real estate? I mean, I know sometimes you're dealing with people, sometimes they're in bad situations. Sometimes they just, for whatever reason, don't want to deal with selling a house and listing a house. They just want it easy. So
Yeah.
what do you see the future bringing here in the next decade of real estate?
I was thinking about this yesterday, actually. I think that construction is going to become a lot more important to real
Right.
estate. And I'm sure you've seen it a ton, finding good contractors and getting stuff done at prices that people can afford anymore is getting tougher and tougher. And so I think that that's going to keep changing the real estate market around here, especially because it's hard to find workers around here. And making, new build homes more expensive, existing homes more expensive to renovate, and therefore like more homeowners are going to be working on their own houses and stuff like that. But I think that Billings is a great place to be, and it's a growing city, so people are going to keep coming here, and the demand is going to raise or remain. But it's absolutely the case that I think things are going to keep getting more expensive, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can see that too. I know a lot of people have said, oh, do you think there's going to be a crash? I just don't see it happening here anyway.
Yeah, how?
Yeah, there's just more demand than supply. It
Sure.
seems that way.
Yep.
So what advice would you have for somebody who wants to do a flipping business?
I think that probably the biggest thing would be to start as soon as you can. And, depending on who you learn from, there's people that say, if you're running a flipping business, it's a business and you should be doing business stuff, right? You shouldn't be out there swinging a hammer or laying down tile. I've had really good luck doing the work because I started off as an electrician and had that construction experience, and then was working on all these houses myself. It helped me in, understanding the cost of stuff when I get bids from other contractors, or the process, or what prices I need to buy houses at to make the deal actually work. And so if someone new is looking at getting into it, I mean, it all looks daunting, right? No matter what you're going to do. But if you wanted to take baby steps, I would say get a job in construction, save up some money, buy a house, and move into it and start working on it and rent out the rooms. That's what I did.
That's great.
And eventually that knowledge will build up and turn into a business where you can start doing that stuff.
That is excellent, Wyatt. And, everybody, this has been a wonderful learning episode with Wyatt Johnson. I'm Nancy Brooke with Billings Best Real Estate. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time.